So today we're going to be taking a look at the Alternative Future World Part 3. Now if you haven't seen Part 1 or 2, make sure to go and watch them so you understand this. So we've just hit 60 subscribers. I might have said this in the last video. But as I've started to come back to YouTube, we have grown rapidly. It's now we have 63. So we are starting to grow a little bit more. I'm getting some very nice comments from you guys. Thank you very much. And I hope you're enjoying the series. Anyway, let's get right into the series. So the first thing I want to look at is the alliance map. So we obviously have NATO, which are all these countries here. So we have England, Germany, all these. Benelux. We'll just do this. We have Luxembourg. Then we also have Slovenia, Croatia, if they want to colour in. Got Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, Poland, the Baltics, and then all these three here. And we also have Turkey. Now, so I want to look at a bit more of this video. We're going to be focusing on wars a lot more. We're going to see some tensions built up between alliances. So yeah, but the first thing we do see is we see Kosovo joining NATO to go sort of protect themselves against Serbia. So now we have Kosovo and NATO. I mean, it's just going to get a bit much. And Georgia and Azerbaijan decide to join NATO so they don't get attacked by Iran and Russia. Hard, sorry guys. Anyway, so in the last video we had Ethiopia and the East African Federation go to war with Sudan. We had, I think it was Brazil invaded Venezuela, that might have been part 1. And we had the Chinese Civil War, or the Chinese War of the US, who the US won and split China up. So anyway, if we take a look at the world, this is the CSTO, or whatever their name is. This is them here. And we actually have Iran owns like some sort of thing. But eventually we see Yemen and Iran joining the CSTO. Now this sort of, Yemen hates North Yemen and Iran hates Turkey. And I think they hate Kurdistan as well. But yeah, we see these two joining into the CSTO, and this sets off a lot more. Now we're going to actually take a look at the PDO, which is the PDP, the Pacific Defence Pact, and it's kind of grown. I don't know really, I can't remember what it exactly was. I need to make a map for the alliances. I might do that in part 4, I might do. So they actually have Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines have recently joined. We've actually seen Malaysia join as well. Now, they don't like Indonesia very much, I don't think. So, yeah, I guess that's a thing. Yeah, but this is the PDO. Then we're going to take a look at the African Defence Pact, which was down here. So this is the African Defence Pact. As you know, you got the Gambia, which is a really weird name, the Gambia. It should just be called Gambia. I mean, it's the country around it called Gambia. I don't know, but I'm not very good with African countries. Georgia, I won't colour it in. So here's the African Defence Pact. She's got a couple more countries to colour in. Yeah, so here's the African Defence Pact. They could unite. I mean, nothing's stopping them, but they might be quite unstable. Anyway, here is all the world alliances at the moment. So we actually see a couple of things happening. So the first thing we see Turkey leaves NATO. Now, this is a huge blow to NATO because Turkey kind of like Russia, but then they kind of like Russia, but then they hate Greece, and Greece is in NATO. So NATO begins to amp up its military forces, and they allow Austria and Bosnia to join. Now it's just Serbia and Catalonia, Galicia now. I mean, Georgia and Azerbaijan are kind of stuck now. They've got no one around them. They're just surrounded by CSTO, so they're probably going to die. Anyway, so that's the alliance map. Could see something going on in the Arabs place at the moment. Now, we're going to see a lot of escalation and a lot of side wars that the big powers get involved in. So the first thing we look at is we're going to go and look at the Balkans. So we sort of see some sort of Serbian coup into Kosovo, which in turn declares Serbia basically a tyrant, and Serbia gets invaded, and now they're part of NATO. So yeah, Serbia now part of NATO. That didn't really have to take a lot of explaining. We actually have another war in Africa breaking out. Now, we've already had a war, but I think Sudan and Egypt are going for round 2 now. So if you would just excuse me, I just got to do this. So countries like these will not get involved. So countries we are looking at would be that we're going to get. So basically what it breaks out is it's Egypt and Ethiopia. Now they're having some sort of dispute over the water from the River Nile or something. I think that's what it's called. And eventually they declare war on each other. So you obviously see the sides set. So we have Sudan joining the red side, and these 4 on the blue side. I mean, it's not looking good for Egypt and Sudan, but they might call in some allies. So they actually get. So they actually can't call in the allies, sadly. Wow, that sucks for them. So they're about to get slapped around by most of Africa. Yeah, they're kind of screwed. So we see Ethiopia make a huge push into Sudan, which basically takes over most of the country because they're so weak at the moment. Sudan falls within like a week, and they cross over into Egypt. Now, I'm not rushing these. This is how fast these wars gonna go. Egypt pushes down further, and eventually crosses back over the border into Sudan. They take their capital, and eventually they just know that this war's going to go nowhere, and they all decide to give up. They don't give up, they all just sign a peace treaty. So let's take a look at the peace treaty. So I think the first thing that would happen would be Egypt gets a lot out of Sudan. Or should I mean, if I left Sudan like that, that could be South Sudan. That could be them getting more. I mean, I could just do coastal access, but then that's going to look even more ugly. I guess I'll extend borders out a little bit. I'll say this is what Ethiopia gets. It's not a huge border change, but it kind of is for Egypt, because now they've got all this land from Sudan. So now we've got Sudan is basically part of Egypt now, and Egypt's quite strong now. I mean, they could form some sort of African Union. But anyway, the next thing we're going to go into the Middle East, where we see another war break out. So we sort of see. So we actually see Saudi Arabia start protecting countries and being like the big. Because now Turkey's gone, they ain't got an ally because they don't like CSTO that much. So they sort of lose allies. And we sort of see some sort of full-on Middle Eastern war, I guess you could say. So we don't get any of these countries involved. So the first thing we see is we actually see it breaks out, finally, a huge war breaks out between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, these two hate each other. They're like Russia, they're like the USSR and America in the Cold War. They hate each other. So Turkey, it's weird with Turkey. They hate Iran. But then they also joined the CSTO and Iran's in it. But this is fictional and they don't necessarily like Saudi Arabia anymore because they're going to join NATO. So they join the red side. I'll bite the bullet. They join the red side. So Saudi Arabia acts its defence pact and we see these boys all joining. Palestine joins the red side, obviously, because they don't like Israel one bit. So they obviously join the red side. And we also see Yemen join the red side. And this in turn declares a full-out Middle Eastern war. Now, this is all the Middle East at war. Absolute carnage. And that's what I mean, absolute carnage. We actually see Armenia, who is part of the CSTO, also joins the red side. And Azerbaijan is in... Yeah, I went over there, so they won't be joining. Anyway, these fronts, they don't look very fair. I mean, the blue side has got a huge advantage, but then they haven't got all the stronger countries. We'll just take a look at it. The first thing we see Israel takes Palestine, and these weird bits cede over. We see Saudi Arabia and Oman push into Yemen from the east, I think. Yeah, east. And we see North Yemen push in from the south. Or from the north. And Yemen just falls because they're kind of collapsed. They've lost their capital and everything. And now we're all just focused up north. So they begin to push into the Syrian-backed Turkey. Now, Syria hates being part of Turkey. So, what do? Oh, that's not good. They revolt. And the entire Syrian areas of Turkey break into chaos. Now, they're already losing, which is awful for them. So they begin to push into Kurdistan, and they actually do quite well. They take Kurdistan's capital, and they cross over into Iraq. Starting to push down to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia gets triggered, and they have nukes now. I forgot to say this in the last episode, but Saudi Arabia have now manufactured nukes. Iran haven't. So they're threatening to nuke them if they attack them even more. And Iran doesn't care. So they don't nuke them, but instead they use loads of their military and they absolutely slap Iran. Running up into Iraq and boom, gone. Literally all the way pushed up to Kurdistan. Now, I think they're going to win this war, the blue team, because Turkey has made themselves really weak. They've lost Syria and they've literally lost all their front in Kurdistan. So the Allies now push up and they cut off Turkey from Iran, which actually kind of sucks now because I think Turkey's just going to die. Yeah, they do. Turkey just thinks there's no hope left and they might as well hope for the best peace treaty. Iran's left on their own with Armenia, who can't really do anything. And eventually this side starts to cross over into Iran. The coast is all captured of Iran. And eventually the two sides meet for peace and the war's over. That was a really short war. Like, really short. This might be quite a short video. Yeah, we just got to... So let's take a look at the peace treaty here. So, if we take a look at our peace treaty, I think Syria will be freed. And get... I think they could get land out of Kurdistan. In exchange for Kurdistan getting more land. I don't know. But I don't know, I've got a really good idea. This might trigger some people. So we get Kurdistan taking more land up in the sort of northern bit of Turkey. And they also take a bit more land, just get their borders extended. So Kurdistan are doing well. They're actually quite not large, but they're getting quite big. So we actually see Syria and Iraq put aside their differences and finally form a union. Now this sort of just protects themselves because they're both quite kind of weak and they just want to, protect themselves. Kurdistan opts to stay out of this union for the moment, but Jordan decides to join it because they're also kind of small. Now, if you thought I'd forget about Palestine, no. Palestine cedes over to Israel, obviously, and Israel now controls Palestine. So I think these are all the border changes. Oh, I forgot Yemen. So we see a tiny bit of Yemen being taken over by Oman. We see a tiny bit of it being ceded over. I think, yeah, look, the border was there, and look, they just ceded that part. We see Saudi Arabia cede a tiny bit over, which actually doesn't really give them that much. It's just kind of desert there. And we see North Yemen sort of, or did I call that South Yemen? No, I called it North. So we see North Yemen also get their borders extended. And Yemen's they just look like a complete collapse now. I mean, if they even go in another war, they're just going to get absolutely slapped and they might well not be a country. So yeah, this is the new Middle East. Not as messed up now. It's more united, which is brilliant. I mean, hold on. I didn't take any land from Iran. Oh, yeah, Armenia joins. Armenia basically gets split up. So, Armenia joins Kurdistan. That I guess that's what you want me to say. Iran takes a huge blow, and they lose all this land to Kurdistan. Kurdistan are vibing. And Kurdistan establishes good relations with Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan says, right, our panhandle doesn't really do anything, so they let Kurdistan buy. Look at this chunky Kurdistan now. Look at that. I mean, if that joins the Iraqi, Syrian, Jordanese union, after you guys come up with a name in the comments for that, that's gonna be quite powerful and big country. I mean, that's gonna really whop the world. So anyway, after this, Russia loses a lot of their allies. I mean, let's take a look at the alliance map now. So we have, basically, we've got NATO, which I don't really have to colour in. I think you guys know who NATO are and who they are. Actually, sorry guys. So this is NATO here. We obviously have most countries in Europe now in NATO. Actually, we might have all countries in Europe. Turkey is, I'm just call them Turkey. Are actually considered now, in this time, they're considered Middle Eastern, as not part of NATO anymore. So, all these countries involved in NATO and are part of it, including Albania, which kind of they're like best friends with Kosovo. So this is NATO now. They're absolutely whopping. I'm actually see something quite interesting go down. We see Galicia join NATO, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Now this is NATO. This is NATO, but they're starting to change. They have Tunisia join, so it becomes the WDP, the World Defence Pact. So you got the PDP, the WDP, and the CSTO are the biggest alliances. So have a look at the CSTO now, because they've taken a huge blow. Oh yeah, that's not good. So CSTO have pretty much lost. Well, they've lost one ally, but they've just got really weak countries now. I mean, we could have a look at the African Defence Pact. Oh yeah, that's not good. So the African Defence Pact are this big now. And the African Defence Pact are a huge nation, and one of the biggest probably. We've got down here an alliance that's probably going to be formed, but they're just a big alliance. Then we'll look. We're going to go and look at the PDO, which we actually see India join. Very surprising. Or was India in it before? I can't remember. Yeah, we actually see India join the PDO, which is quite surprising, yet quite cool. Sorry about hiccups, guys. We have the Philippines in it. Obviously, we have Malaysia. And the next person to join, I wonder who they'll be. Papua New Guinea. So they decide to join the PDO against Indonesia, who actually bites the bullet, and they join the CSTO. this just sucks. Like, why you got to join them? They've joined the CSTO now, and I guess that's just who they are. We actually see some other form of alliance sort of come together now. We see the Middle Eastern Defence Pact, the MDP. We see the MDP break out now. So this is the MDP. All of these nations in one defence pact. This are like really close allies with the WDP, and they could eventually merge, and the WDP would just be the most powerful. So Georgia and Azerbaijan talk with NATO, and they both decide, and NATO and Georgia and Azerbaijan decide that it'd be better off for them to join the Middle Eastern Defence Pact to basically, because they're closer to them, they can get protected more. Oh, I forgot to colour in Yemen for the CSTO. So that's basically what we see. That's the alliance map now. It's weird. It is. It's really weird. I mean, it's kind of cool. So what we've seen in this video is we've seen the Egyptian-Ethiopian war, the second one. We've seen the Middle Eastern war. We've seen a lot of changes to NATO. But I have one more war before this video ends, which I'm just thinking whether I should do it or not. Or should I just save for the next episode? I mean, the Middle Eastern wars are the most entertaining for me. So I'm actually just thinking, yeah, we have the, finally, Mexican Civil War breakout. So we're just going to do their good old, layering. Oh, and by the way, Cuba is now occupied by the United States, which is quite cool. So we have these joining. I'm just going to colour in all the countries that won't get involved as well. Pretty much everyone. So we have the US get involved, and they just get a new government. Well, the US sort of gets involved because they think all free land. So we see the rebellions go against the Mexican government for being corrupt and basically allowing drugs to get money, because that's just what it's about. So we see huge eruptions of like riots, and they eventually turn to full-blown civil war. America takes the advantage of this and just sweeps down to Baja California. I don't know why they don't own this in the real world. It just makes sense. Like, this is just ugly. No. Should be America's, and that's what it will be. And, I mean, I'm probably going to make some Mexicans mad in the comments, I'm sorry. But the US crosses over and begins to invade Mexico. They sort of start to communicate with the Mexican alliance, or the Mexican rebels, and this is what they've done. They've literally split the country into two. So, mainland Mexico just says, sod it, I'm off. But we don't see the end there. Mainland Mexico doesn't say, sod it, I'm off. They actually stay. They actually think, do you know what, let's stay. And surprisingly, they start winning again. I mean, not really. They use their last push to take all the land back, but they just... I mean, they push back the rebellions a tiny bit, but the rebellions come back and just slap them again. And they do the same thing. Yeah, this video is probably not going to be the best of ones. It's sort of the building up. I think it might be quite good, though. I want to hear you guys' opinions in the comment. What is your favourite episode so far? But we're just going to have a look at the quick peace treaty before we end the video. So, peace treaty-wise, we don't really have a lot going on. We just have stuff with the US. So, if I rub out the US border with Mexico and then redo it. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So, this is the new US border of Mexico. Ugly, I know. I could just do something wavy like this. But then that looks really ugly as well. That looks alright. That's fine. And then we also see these guys getting independence as a new country. So now we have New Mexico. That is not their name, but now we have a New Mexico. So that's part 3. I actually might upload part 4 today as well because I just feel like it. I ain't got anything better to do. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. But let me know what your favourite comment or what your favourite thing is in the description, or what your favourite episode is of this series, and if you'd like me to continue it. My Discord will be in the comments and the description, so join that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.